In the wake of our Oscar extravaganza, I welcome you back to Noir Alley and Bar 355 in Oakland, California. We resume with a film as far from Academy prestige as anything I've ever shown. But first, a little preamble. At its core, film noir is about perversion. Crime is typically central to the plot, but when you dig under the surface, the characters who populate Noir Alley are often driven by something more carnal. They have the sorts of urges that blind one to common sense or basic decency. Today's film, Who Killed Teddy Bear, has neither of those. Released by Magna Corporation in 1965, it is the perviest noir I have ever seen. Full stop. There's no graphic sex or violence, but every single one of its 24 frames per second oozes with sleaze. It's also a little light on plot, which means there's plenty of time to unpack the many taboos packed into this stalker scenario. If your dirty little mind can think of it, it's in here in some form or another. That's a warning and a promise. Based on his work as a TV director, Joseph Cates may have seemed an odd choice to direct Who Killed Teddy Bear. He had created the $64,000 question for CBS, and he not only designed the original set for The Honeymooners, he was responsible for the casting of Art Carney. So Cates clearly knew how to appeal to mainstream audiences. But for his movie debut, he wanted to make something different. Girl of the Night, released in 1960, was the story of a prostitute who undergoes psychotherapy in the hope of starting a new life. Cates was fascinated by the relationship between psychology and sexuality. And with his next film, Who Killed Teddy Bear, he got the chance to delve even deeper into this controversial subject. The screenwriters who brought Cates this story also had dabbled with noir in different mediums. Leon Takacshian wrote for TV shows like The Big Story and Deadline, which told crime stories from a journalistic angle. Arnold Drake, meanwhile, had created superhero tales for Marvel and DC Comics. He also co-wrote the noir-inspired picture novel It Rhymes with Lust in 1950, an early example of what we now call graphic novels. The contrasting styles of Takacshian and Drake give Who Killed Teddy Bear a creative tension that never quite resolves itself. Some moments feel grounded in gritty reality. Others feel like we're being swept into a bad acid trip. Not that I know anything about that. But let me warn you, you won't find another movie with more intense and uncomfortable dance numbers. Speaking of discomfort, nobody does it like Sal Mineo. His angsty performance in Rebel Without a Cause earned him an Oscar nomination, but by 1965, his status as a teen idol had faded. Mineo was struggling to get parts, and he took on Who Killed Teddy Bear as a way of reinventing his screen image. This new persona was very obviously modeled on Marlon Brando. It's impossible to watch Mineo and not see Brando, from the chiseled physique to the pained outbursts. His shirts are even tighter than Brando's in A Streetcar Named Desire. Mineo's infatuation with Brando in real life gives this a homoerotic twist that pushes the performance way beyond mere imitation. I would have given anything to have watched Marlon Brando watching Sal Mineo in this movie. The rest of the cast also largely plays against type. Juliette Prowse, best known for her dynamic dancing in musical comedies, plays the nightclub DJ Mineo's character is obsessed with. The great Elaine Stritch retools her stage persona to play a nightclub owner with dubious intentions. But the boldest piece of casting in Who Killed Teddy Bear is Jan Murray as a kink-obsessed cop. Murray was a stand-up comic and talk show fixture throughout the 60s, but his performance here is totally devoid of humor. It is completely upside-down casting. But then everything in this film is out of whack. Featuring a bouncy score by Charles Kaleo and amazing cinematography by Joseph Brun, get ready to discover Who Killed Teddy Bear. Cameraman Joseph Brunn was the go-to guy for capturing the underbelly of New York. He had previously shot Edge of the City and Odds Against Tomorrow, but Who Killed Teddy Bear contains some of his best work, especially when Sal Mineo's character is roving around Times Square. The cinema verite approach makes us feel as though we're the ones doing the stalking. The finale, where Mineo caroms around the deuce, was pretty challenging to shoot. The picture was made without permits, and multiple cab drivers mistook Mineo for an actual street crook and tried to chase him down. The taxi that cuts in front of him was not scripted, and Mineo's impromptu jumping of the fence was done out of legitimate fear for his safety. Who Killed Teddy Bear was one of the last New York noirs to be made in this guerrilla style. The year after its release, Mayor John Lindsay established the Office of Film, Theater, and Broadcasting, which made it easier for filmmakers to get shooting permits. It was a big improvement in terms of security for both crews and citizens, but there is something undeniably thrilling about watching Mineo risking life and limb to get the perfect shot. Who Killed Teddy Bear is one of the most visually striking crime films of the 60s. And it's no coincidence that Michael Chapman, the assistant cameraman who tracked Mineo through Times Square, would later be the cinematographer of Taxi Driver. In many ways, this movie is the depraved older brother to Martin Scorsese's 1976 classic. Well, to the surprise of absolutely no one, Who Killed Teddy Bear was controversial upon its release. The Catholic Church called for a boycott of the film, and the studio cut 3 minutes in an attempt to make it more palatable for mainstream audiences. Like 3 minutes would make a difference. No amount of trimming could clean this thing up. It was a critical and commercial flop. Juliette Prowse retired from the big screen. I'm not sure if this film prompted her decision. And Joseph Cates spent the rest of his career directing TV specials. He also became a father to actress Phoebe Cates. Who Killed Teddy Bear seemed destined for obscurity, but the film was simply too strange to be ignored. I remember watching it on late-night TV in the late 70s, and a weird mix of revulsion and admiration came over me. Apparently, I was not alone. The film was resurrected in select theaters in 1996, and in 2024, a Blu-ray edition was released with the missing scenes restored. Today, Who Killed Teddy Bear feels like the missing link in a noir subgenre we'll call Freudsploitation. Films where childhood trauma typically leads to nymphomania for the gals and a life of crime for the guys. Earlier examples had to tone down the frankness to appease censors, while subsequent releases, like Taxi Driver, pushed boundaries to the extreme. Who Killed Teddy Bear split the difference and is somehow more unsettling as a result. Some of this movie's queasy quality has to do with Sal Mineo's legacy. He was singled out by critics as the film's saving grace, and he was finally able to shed his teen image. Unfortunately, he'd spend the rest of his career typecast as unstable criminals. Mineo's real-life predilection for rough trade, culminating in his murder in 1976, gives Who Killed Teddy Bear an ominous sense of predestination. You cannot watch this film and not attach some deeper significance to his character's alienation. I don't know if it's good or if it's garbage, but the damn film has stuck with me since that first viewing in the 1970s. Next week, I'll be back with another film that was controversial upon its release, Caged, the mother of all women in prison movies, featuring an Oscar-nominated performance by Eleanor Parker and a cell block of fantastic supporting actresses. Until then, see you in the shadows.
Next on TCM, Humoresque, then Flamingo Road, and later, Alfred the Great. It's good to be the king on TCM tonight.